Hi friends, this is Mainak Misra and welcome back to my channel. Today I will discuss with you one of the most important films in cinema history, one of the most dynamic films in cinema history, Cidade de Deus or City of God. Fernando Meirelles' City of God portrays the infamous and impoverished City of God or Cidade de Deus favela from the late 1960s to early 1980s in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. When favelas like City of God were completely controlled and ruled by gangsters, endangering lives of ordinary citizens. The sources of income were multiple: illegal activities like drug business or robbery. Anybody could be held at gunpoint anytime. Anybody could be threatened at gunpoint at any time. In those unbearable circumstances, life seemed to be impossible, as if it was not city of God, it was the city of demons. Even though those favelas were very much part of Rio, those were far away from Rio's famous color, vigor, grandeur, glamour, and aristocracy. The film is based on famous autobiographical novel of the same name, City of God, by Brazilian writer Paulo Lins, who himself spent his childhood days in City of God. Even though City of God is one of the most dynamic films in cinema history, director Fernando Meirelles or co-director Katia Lund have not glamorized violence, and multiple violent encounters are depicted off the screen indirectly. When the world started recognizing Brazil as a major developing country, favelas like City of God remained far away in never-ending darkness, excluded from all the economic development and prosperity. Now let's discuss the story. The film starts with some gang members chasing a chicken on a road in City of God, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. A young man named Rocket, who is also the narrator of the film, comes in front of the chicken while walking down the road. And then the film flashes back to Rocket's childhood days in newly built City of God favela in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Initially, the film introduces the viewers with the tender trio, namely Shaggy, Clipper, and Goose, who have just robbed a few shops and are hiding in the neighborhood. As per Little Dice's information, they decide to rob a motel. but with the intent of not killing anyone. However, Little Dice betrays them by falsely informing them about the arrival of police officials and killing motel guests. Heavy police security and raids descend upon City of God. Police officials kill Shaggy while escaping. Little Dice kills Goose, and Clipper leaves all these criminal activities and joins the church. Now the film shifts forward to 1970s, early 1970s. Rocket joins a young friends group and falls in love with Angelica, but can't express his feelings toward her. Little Dice grows up to be a notorious gangster, and now he is no more referred to as Little Dice. He is referred to as Little Zay. He eliminates all other gangsters in Cidade de Deus or City of God and gains the control of the entire drug business of City of God. The only competition remains is Carrot. Benny is Little Zay's friend as well as Carrot's friend. He is a cool guy. Angelica breaks off with Tiago, and Tiago introduces Benny to the friends group. Benny starts dating Angelica and decides to leave all these criminal activities and City of God. During Benny's farewell party, Little Zay fails to convince Benny not to leave his gang. He also fails to convince a pretty young girl to dance with him. Carrot's business manager, Blackie, who is now forced to work for Little Zay, accidentally kills Benny instead of Little Zay. And this news completely shatters Carrot. He now knows very much that nobody can save his business from Little Zay. In extreme anger, he kills Blackie. On his way to Carrot's place, Little Zay meets that young girl who refused his proposal to dance with him. Beats off her boyfriend, Knockout Nate, a peaceful person, far away from all these violence and criminal activities, a former security guard. And Little Zay rapes her. When Knockout Nate's brother stabs Little Zay, his gang carries out an all-out attack on Knockout Nate's house and kills his brother and uncle. Now Knockout Nate becomes revengeful and joins hand with Carrot's gang. An intense gang war breaks out between the gangs of Carrot and Little Zay. and both the gangs start recruiting more and more members. Even guns are distributed among little boys known as runts. Rocket now works for a newspaper company as a delivery associate, and he captures a few photographs of Little Zay and his gang. But a reporter of that newspaper accidentally, not accidentally, willfully publishes a photograph as a scoop. Now Rocket fears for his life. How will he go now there? He is very much afraid. But instead of being extremely angry, Little Zay becomes utterly happy at the publicity of him and his gang members. Rocket becomes an important source of photographs for the newspaper company and gets a job as a photographer with that company. He returns to City of God for more pictures and gets caught in the middle of the gunfight between gang members of Little Zay and the police officials, and thereby arriving at the opening sequence of the film. Considering defeat, the police officials escape from that place. Little Zay requests Rocket to capture a few more photographs, and when Rocket is about to capture a photograph, Carrot's gang members carry out an all-out attack on the gang of Little Zay. Both get arrested, Carrot and Little Zay by police officials. However, Little Zay gets released bribing the police officials, which is secretly filmed, secretly photographed by Rocket. As soon as Little Zay gets released, the runts kill him, capture his drug business, and make a hit list to capture the entire drug business of City of God. Crime continues, and Rocket decides to publish the picture of Little Zay's dead body, which will earn him an internship instead of the bribing photograph. This is the story. Even though apparently it looks like that crime and violence are the theme of this film, the main theme of this film is exclusion. Director Fernando Meirelles and co-director Katia Lund have vividly shown what happens to a part of society when it gets excluded from the mainstream society. It gets filled with all the negative forces like crime, violence, killing, drug business, all these things. The proverb says that a rolling stone gathers no moss, but when the stone is kept isolated, static, it gets covered with moss. The same happened to City of God favela as well, and all those favelas in Rio. The then Brazilian government shifted the slum areas from the middle to the western side of Rio de Janeiro, and thus all those favelas got separated from the mainstream society and got filled with all the negative forces like crime, violence, encounter, drug business. Life seemed to be completely impossible in those unbearable circumstances. Director Fernando Meirelles has also shown how violence impacts ordinary citizens. Initially, Knockout Ned is a peaceful person, a former security guard. He enjoys his time with his girlfriend. But what happens to him? Little Zay rapes his girlfriend, beats him up, attacks his house, and kills his brother and uncle. So, quite naturally, he becomes revengeful and joins hands with Carrot. He becomes a party to the violence. He can't be completely blamed for that. And this is what exactly happened to Knockout Nate. And this happens to many innocent civilians every day across the world. It is not limited only to a favela in Rio de Janeiro. Another important aspect of the film is it shows that cycle of life continues. Good deeds are passed on to next generation. Bad deeds are also passed on to next generation. Little Zay gains the control of City of God by eliminating all other gangsters. So when the Rands get the opportunity, they kill Little Zay, and the crime continues. The cycle of life continues. The screenplay written by Mantovani is based on the famous semi-autobiographical novel City of God by Paulo Lins, who himself spent his childhood days in City of God favela. The screenplay is very honest and truthful to the novel. It does not glamorize the violence. It honestly portrays City of God favela and its people, culture, crime, violence very honestly. Apart from Matthews, Nectar-Gale, and Alice Braga, the cast mostly includes non-professional actors. Many of them lived in real-life favelas, and a few of them lived in City of God itself. More than 100 actors were kept in a workshop that continued for over 6 months, and instead of repeated rehearsals, the scenes were filmed based on continuous improvisation. And that way, director Fernando Meirelles and co-director Katia Lund were able to get an exact replica of City of God. And Meirelles really got help from Katia Lund for this filming scenes. Cinematography is one of the most dynamic cinematographies in the history of cinema. There are multiple dynamic scenes like the chicken chase scene when the film flashes back to Rocket's childhood through a circular track. There are multiple dynamic scenes throughout the film, and cinematographer Cesar Sarlone's camera is always on the move as if it is waiting for some incidents, is waiting for something new, violent, terrible, for some event. The film is filled with all kinds of cinematic shots like long, mid, close up, high angle, low angle, Dutch angle, pan, track, V pan, circular tracks, all kinds of shots are there. Low angle shots make little Zay's character look like notorious. High angle shots establish the background, high angle long shots establish the background of City of God favela. And cinematographer Chardon brilliantly used depth of field. He used depth of field for capturing the surrounding of City of God. But he used shallow depth of field for capturing the photographs of gangsters or to capture the scenes of gang fights, gang wars. He used gray and blue color filter palette for the violent scenes. So the film becomes more violent and the photographs become more and more black and gray. And there is one sequence where during Benny's farewell party, the entire screen gets filled with blue light. So lighting is very important in this film. Bright light has been used for happier scenes like when Rocket enjoys his time with the young group during Rocket's childhood days in City of God favela, newly built City of God favela. But when the film becomes more violent, the color of the film becomes more grayish or blackish. And as I mentioned earlier, that when Benny passed away, that time the entire screen gets filled with blue light, probably to portray Benny's coolness, stability, reliability, and also the pathos created because of his death. Much like cinematography, editing is also extremely dynamic. All the scenes are dynamic. Chicken chase scene, you can see dynamic editing has been executed there. And for the circular tracking scene when Rocket's childhood days are flashed back. So throughout the film, editing is extremely dynamic. And editor Daniel Rezende waited for an effect all the time and either slowed down the pace or sped up to create a motion in the film. With Fernando Meirelles, he decided to proceed with the introduction approach, in which at first each character is frozen on the screen and then their backgrounds are revealed. So it doesn't follow starting, mid and ending approach. It follows mid, starting and ending. This is a very important phenomenon of the editing. And sound is also very important. The most prominent sound in the film is the voiceover of Rocket, narrator. And when the voiceover is played, all other sound sources are muted. So it takes the top priority. In multiple places, diegetic sounds have been used and the artificial sounds have also been used, like in the first scene, sharpening sound of the knife creates a sense of terror. So the sound sources always create a kind of sense of violence, a sense of terror. Throughout the film, you will realize that. Violence continued in City of God favela. So a majority portion of the film was shot in another favela called Cidade Alta. However, there was no issue with the security of the cast and crew. Local security guards were deployed and the filming was wrapped safely. There was no issue. Apparently, it looks like the viewers may feel that director Fernando Meirelles has used extensive music in the film, but this is not true. In that era, the residents of City of God loved music. There was a culture of listening to the music, and anybody would pass by would get to hear music coming out of those houses. So it is quite natural that director has chosen to use extensive music which will portray Brazilian culture and tradition. And because of that, he used soul, funk, and samba soundtracks composed by famous Brazilian artists, musicians like Simonel, Catola, Raul Seixas, Chiu George, Hildon, Tim Maia. So all those famous Brazilian musicians who composed music for Brazil and its people. Their music portrays Brazil's tradition and culture. So quite naturally, director Fernando Meirelles used those soundtracks in the film. City of God received widespread critical acclaim. All of you know the film's name, and it has been receiving accolades all over the world since its release. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards at the 76th Academy Awards: Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Editing. It was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at the 60th Golden Globe Awards, and it won the Best Editing Award at the 56th BAFTA Awards. It won Editing Award, Daniel Rezende, and it was nominated for Best Film Not in the English Language at the 56th BAFTA Awards, same award ceremony. That's all. I think all of you have seen this film and you cannot miss this film. As I mentioned earlier, it is one of the most dynamic films, not only in 21st century, but in cinema history. And the request goes again, please subscribe to my channel. Please press the bell icon so that you do not miss regular updates. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until and unless I make the next one, until the time I make the next one. Thanks for watching and bye.